Today is Thursday, July 18th, 2019. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, Donald Trump lying again, disavows the send her back chant that took place last night at his rally in North Carolina. But why didn't he say a damn thing when it actually happened? I'm going to unpack this whole thing for you. A Pew Research study finds that more than half of Americans say that Donald Trump has made race relations worse. But I thought they said Obama created the polarized America. We'll break it down with one of the research associates at Pew. The 5th anniversary of Eric Garner's death was yesterday. We'll talk with his mother, Gwen Carr, today on Roland Martin Unfiltered. And social media has been on fire. A student at Morehouse College alleges that a university employee has sexually assaulted him. Other young black men say them too. Whoa, Morehouse having a Me Too problem? Democratic lawmakers propose cutting health care centers for the poor. What the hell is going on? And yes, remember that YouTube guy who called cops on a black man after July 4th? Oh, yeah. He's a part of our crazy ass white people segment. Folks, it's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best you know. He's Roland Martin now. Martin.
All right, folks, Donald Trump being the man who black people always knew who he was. That's why I used the hashtag we tried to tell you. We're going to talk in a moment about this whole issue last night at his rally in North Carolina and how he's trying to say, oh, no, my goodness, I disavow what they actually said. But, folks, check this out. A Pew Research study really says how Americans feel about race relations in the country. And that is, when it comes to Donald Trump, very negative. 6 in 10 Americans, that's almost 60%, say race relations in the U.S. are bad. And of those, they few see improving. Some 56% think Donald Trump has made race relations worse. Just 15% says he has improved race relations. And another 13% say he has tried but failed to make progress on this issue. Roughly 2/3 say it's become more common for people to express racist views since Donald Trump became president. Joining us right now is research associate with Pew, who headed the study, Dr. Kiana Cox. Doc, how you doing?
Hi, thank you for having me, Roland.
All right, so let's unpack this. First of all, a lot of black people always say, I ain't never got called, so I don't trust these surveys. I've gotten called a number of times. So can you speak to that first of all? How did you actually conduct this study?
Sure. So at the Pew Research Center, we have something known as our American Trends Panel. And we work really hard at the center to make sure that we recruit a nationally representative panel that we actually maintain and keep in contact with. And for example, if you're somebody who doesn't have the internet, a lot of our polling is online. We'll provide you with internet and a tablet. And so we really work hard to make sure that we can get a nationally representative sample along with making sure that people actually have access to be able to take our surveys. So these are rigorous methods, a nationally representative sample that we keep in constant contact with, and a panel that we actually maintain.
All right, so let's unpack in terms of what this study revealed in terms of how folks feel. Was there a difference between when Obama was president and Trump becomes president?
Absolutely. So what we see in our studies, and both of these questions were asked at the beginning of 2019. So just for some contrast, this isn't old versus new data, right? So what we see now is that about, as you mentioned earlier, about 60% of Americans say that since his election, Donald Trump has made race relations worse. And as compared to Barack Obama, where only 25% of Americans said that Obama made race relations worse.
So 56% say Donald Trump has made it worse versus 25% who say Obama has made it worse.
Yes, and these were both studies conducted at the beginning of 2019.
Do you break down Democrat, Republican, or is it just Americans And if so, how does that break down?
We break down. So one of the things that we found across this study is that in general, African Americans tend to stand out as saying, as in terms of broad majority, saying that Donald Trump has said things that has made race worse. And also a majority of whites say this too. But what's interesting is that when whites are Democrats and when they have bachelor's degrees, their views tend to align even more with blacks.
So we could, for lack of a better phrase, smarter white folks versus the white folks with just a high school diploma.
Whites with bachelor's degrees.
Smarter white people. So that's just that's how I break the data down. That's how I break the data down. And that's important because when you look at who Donald Trump is really speaking to, he's speaking to that non-college audience. And when we talk about those numbers, what does it look like? How stark is it?
So, for example, generally when we look at sort of partisan splits, especially among whites, when it comes to a lot of these racial attitudes, speaking broadly, we tend to see a 60-40 split. So around 60% of white Democrats will lean more towards the patterns that we see for African Americans, whereas 40% or less of white Republicans would lean towards the opposite opinion. Now, again, that's a broad swath of these. For certain areas, those percentages are actually even more stark when we look at different areas.
What about Latinos?
Latinos are interesting because when it comes to issues of racial discrimination, Latinos fall more in line with African Americans. But if you ask Latinos, for example, has being Latino helped or hurt your ability to get ahead in the United States, 44% of them will say neither one. Being Latino hasn't helped or hurt me.
But the other difference that people also don't understand is you have white Hispanics and non-white Hispanics.
Right, right. And so it's interesting, in our surveys, we allow people to self-identify in terms of race. And so if Hispanics are also identify as white, they'll still be counted in our survey as Hispanic. So we haven't been able just yet to unpack sort of white versus black Hispanic.
It's very interesting, again, when you look at the data in terms of this. Trump loves talking about polls. This is one he never wants to talk about. And are there any specific things that have happened that people have said, this is why I feel that way? Charlottesville or anything else?
Well, we didn't specifically ask about particular events, but sort of the touchstone that we asked about was, since Donald Trump has been elected, what are these things? So we mentioned earlier, since he's been elected, a majority of Americans feel that race relations have gotten worse. Since he's been elected, a majority of Americans also feel that it's more acceptable to say racist things openly and publicly. And then a little less than half of Americans also say that it's more common to say these things. So we didn't ask about specific events like Charlottesville or any of the Black Lives Matter protests, etc., but we did sort of peg this from the beginning of his election up until the point that they took the survey, and that's what they were assessing.
Dr. Greg Carr, Chair, Department of Afro-American Studies, Howard University. You got a question?
Yeah, well, first of all, congratulations, Dr. Cox.
Thank you.
Great report. Something I read near the end, and we'll be using this certainly in the fall when school starts again, this question of people identifying with their race. One of the subtexts in your study really emphasized the invisibility of whiteness. How white folks really don't see how their race, they see how their race plays, but when they identify it, very few, it seemed to me, I would have expected, very few white people said, I identify strongly as white. How do you read that?
I think, well, what we have, so there are shares of, so one of the things that's really interesting when we ask about racial identity importance in our data is that across the board, a lot of our measures strengthen when we take into account racial identity, even for whites. So even if there's a smaller share of whites than comparatively blacks or Hispanics, once you take into account racial identity, for whites, we see sort of ideas about discrimination strengthen, ideas about sort of the state of the country strengthen. So though racial identity, education, and partisanship or party, all of those things tend to play into sort of disparities among whites. So it's interesting because last week I did a piece on linked fate, which was the extent to which people feel as if, I feel like you heard that term before.
Yes.
Which is the extent to which people feel as if what happens to other races will impact their lives. And one of the things that we see in that study, again, is that when you have whites who have bachelor's degrees and who are Democrats, their linked fate, or the extent to which they feel like people of color, what happens to them will impact them, increases.
Interesting.
Wow. Kiana Cox, Pew, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, folks, let's talk about last night where you pretty much had a Klan rally taking place in North Carolina. Donald Trump, the rally was supposed to be on the same night Robert Mueller was going to testify before Congress. That was delayed a week, but it still continued. This is what took place last night in North Carolina when Trump spoke.
And obviously and importantly, Omar has a history of launching vicious anti-Semitic screeds.
Oh, that led to a vicious backlash by media, by Democrats, even Republicans today. There was a meeting today between Republicans in Congress and Vice President Mike Pence. They made it clear that that was not good for the Republican Party. According to the Wall Street Journal, Ivanka, I don't really believe she did it, but the Wall Street Journal said Ivanka went to the Oval Office and said she was not pleased with what took place last night. So what do you think happened? Here's Donald Trump in the Oval Office today when the media got called in.
Yes. And Mr. President, if I may, when your supporters last night were chanting, send her back, why didn't you stop them? Why didn't you ask them to stop saying that?
Well, number one, I think I did. I started speaking very quickly. It really was a loud, I disagree with it, by the way, but it was quite a chant, and I felt a little bit badly about it. But I will say this, I did, and I started speaking very quickly, but it started up rather fast, as you probably noticed.
So you'll tell your supporters never to
Well,
say
I would say that. I was not happy with it. I disagree with it. But again, I didn't say that. They did, but I disagree with it.
But they were echoing what you said in your first tweet, that they should go back.
Well, I don't think if you examine it, I don't think you'll find that, but I disagree with it. Anybody else?
Why did you?
That was quite interesting because he said he spoke rather quickly. We're going to play for you again exactly what happened at the rally. Press play.
And obviously and importantly, Omar has a history of launching vicious anti-Semitic screeds.
Did y'all see at any point where he talked quickly? No. He waited about 13 seconds. He allowed it to build. Well, things have gotten really, really wild when it comes to outside of that. Again, Republicans are realizing how bad this is. In fact, many of them are stuck in a quandary because some are trying to defend what took place. One of them is Lindsey Graham. Oh, my goodness. I swear he just lost his brain because Lindsey Graham is like, well, you know, if somebody was Somalian who was wearing a MAGA hat, I'm quite sure that he wouldn't want them to go.
Why you make that face?
No, that's literally what they are saying. It is laughable to see what is taking place by them. And again, other Republicans, keep in mind, when the House voted on the resolution condemning his racist tweet, 4 Republicans and 1 independent, Justin Amash, who used to be a Republican, voted with the Democrats. So this is not a situation. The Republicans are realizing that this is also a problem because they understand that, and this is the key, I need y'all to understand this here. Who are Republicans most concerned about fleeing them? White suburban women. Let me take you back to 1990 and 1991. Newt Gingrich was Speaker of the House. The Republicans lost seats. Newt Gingrich got booted out as the Speaker of the House. I'm sorry, not 91, 92. Actually, I'll go back to 98, 99. He got booted out because white suburban women felt that Newt Gingrich was too harsh in how he spoke about minorities. What happens? 2000, George W. Bush, actually 99, George W. Bush, then governor of Texas, announces he's running for president. They loved George W. Bush's compassionate conservatism. They thought that was a better contrast than what Newt Gingrich is doing. So when you hear Republicans recognizing when race all of a sudden begins to get higher and higher, Republicans don't mind light racism. The problem for Republicans is when you have overt racism. That's when they get a little bit upset. But just to show you how nonsensical this man is, okay, in terms of a person like Lindsey Graham. This is what this idiot tweeted earlier today. Something I have learned. Go to my. If you're a Republican nominee for president or president, you will be accused of being a racist. John Lewis compared John McCain's campaign to being like that of George Wallace. It comes with the territory, unfortunately. That is very, very interesting, folks. Come back to me, please. That's very, very interesting because I recall, do y'all recall when Senator Lindsey Graham went on CNN and denounced Trump's racism? Anybody else recall that?
Yes, sir.
In case y'all don't, go to it now.
Donald Trump says. And disgusted. Well, I want to talk to the Trump supporters for a minute. I don't know who you are, and I don't know why you like this guy. I think what you like about him, he appears to be strong when the rest of us are weak. He's a very successful businessman, and he's going to make everything great. He's going to take all the problems of the world and put them in a box and make your life better. That's what he's selling. Here's what you're buying. He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. He doesn't represent my party. He doesn't represent the values that the men and women who wear the uniform are fighting for. I've been in the Air Force for 33 years. I retired this June. He's the ISIL Man of the Year, by the way. He just got back from Iraq a week ago this Monday.
I know. We interviewed you live from there. You were with Senator John McCain, and you were going into Iraq to get a status report. What were they saying?
Did y'all hear that? Did y'all? Okay, I know. Some people really didn't hear it. Do it again.
He's going to take all the problems of the world and put them in a box and make your life better. That's what he's selling. Here's what you're buying. He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. He doesn't represent my party. He doesn't represent the values that the men and women who wear the uniform are fighting for. I've been in the Air Force for 33 years. I retired this June.
That was Lindsey Graham. That's real interesting when he said he does not represent my party. Really? Doesn't represent your party. Go to my iPad. This is from Sunday when Lindsey Graham and Kentucky Senator Rand Paul play golf with Donald Trump. That was Sunday, the day after Donald Trump made his racist tweets about the 4 sisters, the women of color, in the United States Congress. See, Lindsey somehow thinks we can't pull up video and can't play his comments back. The reality is we can. And what we have to understand is what we're dealing with are people who want to defend racism and bigotry, such as Kevin McCarthy, who is the Republican minority leader in the House. Listen.
You said a short time ago that the chants of send her back have no place in this country. So why is it a problem when people chant it, but not when the president tweets it?
The president clarified very clearly that he did not tell somebody. He talked about the love of this country.
No, he said they should
No,
go back to
he
where they came from.
clarified inside his tweet. If you want to read the clarification of his tweet, he talked about the love of this country and said, if you don't love this country, you can leave. That's a fundamental difference. And that's what the president is talking about.
You really think these lawmakers don't love their country?
I didn't say they didn't love their country. They have
the
all the rights of their
president
country the same way. The president did not name the individual. He said, if you do not like this country, you can leave. But the president talked about building on this economy, making it stronger. There's a clear difference in this. And you watch, I didn't get to see the rally, but I saw a clip. The president didn't join in any chant like that. And I think it's really wrong that you would even challenge this president when you look at the First Lady is foreign-born as well. So I think the question is now debate. Yes.
Senator McCarthy, last night as we were hearing these chants, the president just stood there. He didn't intervene.
The president moved on with his speech.
But if there is no place for these chants, as you said, does the president have a responsibility to cut this out?
For those who were at the event, and I was not, I didn't see it, but I did talk to somebody there, he said it was a small group off to the side. What the president did, the president did not join in. The president moved on. He moved on about a speech about a country and the things that are building and right. That's what the president did. Has it become so far that you want to dislike the president so much you're going to accuse him of trying to do something he did not do? From the places that he moved on in the speech, he never joined in it, and you want to try to hold him accountable for what something in a big audience? Are you going to hold him accountable, too, for whatever any protesters or something else does it? I think that's an unfair position.
So he has no responsibility to turn to his supporters and say, that's not fair.
What he did in his responsibility was right. He moved on to make them stop in the process. That's exactly what the president did, and the president talked about the greatness of this country.
Is that what he did? It was a small group off to the right. Press play.
And obviously and importantly, Omar has a history of launching vicious anti-Semitic screeds.
Sound like a small group of folks off to the right. It's very interesting, the response. I'm going to show y'all this tweet here. And remember I talked the other day about white conservative Christians? Do you remember when we did the dramatic reading of the 4th of July speech by Frederick Douglass? And who did he criticize more than anybody else when it came to slavery? White conservative Christians. This is a tweet that was sent out today by North Carolina Congressman who's from Greenville, North Carolina, Reverend Mark Walker. Though it was brief, I struggled with the send her back chant tonight referencing Representative Omar. Her history, words, and actions reveal her great disdain for both America and Israel. That should be our focus and not phrasing that's painful to our friends in the minority communities. Just for all of you who have never read his bio, he was a pastor for 16 years. Representative Mark Walker. Used to be Reverend Mark Walker. What I'm trying to get you to understand is you are dealing with white Republicans who are desperate to defend white supremacy, and they want they think that we're Houdini, they're Houdini, David Copperfield. No, these things are not happening. Trust me, what you see with your eyes is an illusion. What you hear is an illusion. No, what we are hearing and seeing is reality. Dr. Greg Carr, Cleo Monago, also joining us via Skype. We have, of course, Erica Savage Wilson, Savage Politics Podcast. Greg, it is amazing to watch the contortions that Republicans put themselves in, trying to explain to us, no, these things just did not happen, when it is overt appeals based upon race.
Absolutely. Well, their signing pen has overflooded. Donald Trump, who clearly stopped aging at age 14, mostly developmentally, because no, it wasn't, I don't have it, whatever. He has been a signing pen for their policies. Kevin McCarthy, we remember, was the majority whip when the Tea Party came into power around 2010, 2011. He's angling to be Speaker of the House so they can take the House again.
The same Kevin McCarthy who they did not want to be Speaker of the House.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right, Roland. Again, I mean, you always walk us through the politics, man. People have such short memories. What McCarthy can't do is alienate that rock-hard base that Donald Trump has figured is anything he needs. All Trump thinks he needs is a little third and a half, and he can steal Wisconsin again, maybe steal Pennsylvania, maybe steal Michigan again, get it close enough to steal, and hope that they can suppress the vote enough for him to be president. He's only caring about himself. The only other thing I see is when you play that CNN clip, Lindsey Graham was running for president. He
Right.
had not yet gone on the golf course. And when he attacked somebody for saying anything about John McCain, never forget, it was John McCain that loosed Sarah Palin on the world, and that's where these kind of chants started, including physical threats against Obama at McCain-Palin rallies.
And when a racist white woman stood up at a town hall, Erica, and said that Obama was not an American, wasn't born here.
That's right.
It was Senator John McCain who said, no, no, ma'am, that's not right. Yes, he was, and he's a good man. The reality is Lindsey Graham has completely sold his soul to the devil. What he has done is simply said, Donald Trump, have your way with me, do whatever you want. I will support you in every single way. That's what he has done. That's why Jamie Harrison is running against him in South Carolina for the United States Senate. That's why all these Republicans are tucking and running. Even Mitt Romney had the audacity, the unmitigated gall to send a tweet out saying he was happy to see the president disavow the comments last night when he actually stirred them up, Erica.
Oh, absolutely. And I agree with Dr. Carr. It is so important to be hysterically sound in this moment because shortly after that, votes were taken by the House to condemn Trump's tweets. In an interview that Trump did, he followed up by saying very plainly that what he felt like should have been the headline are the 187 Republicans that stood with him, meaning that this party is nothing more than a reflection of modern-day Trumpism. And which is, from what we saw with that rally that happened in Greenville the other night, this is a modern-day Klan rally, which is held together usually by people who are in some level of enforcement. That would usually be chiefs of police and sheriffs. Well, this time it is the actual president of the United States who, when we pan out and we look at what you shared with the audience, you not only see people who are of the boomer generation, you're also seeing people who are millennials, folks who are just coming into the world, young people. So I think that all of that is very important as we continue to move forward, condemning what is the obviously and plainly stating the truth on every front.
Cleo, there are some people who are probably watching saying, why are you giving him so much attention? I am laying all of this out because what we are doing is what mainstream media will not do. What we are doing is showing the direct link between comments, between policy, between agenda, between, and not just for re-election in 2020. Today, people don't understand. Today, while the national media, listen to me, y'all, was focused so much on Donald Trump's comments and booking all these white folks on television to discuss race, today, the United States Senate moved forward on 2 more federal judges who refused to state that Brown versus Board of Education was properly decided by the Supreme Court in 1954. What you are seeing here, now here's the deal. This is a tweet right here from Vanita Gupta, Leadership Conference on Civil Rights. Reminder, McConnell has now helped Trump confirm 129 lifetime federal judges while ignoring House-passed legislation that would ensure equal pay for equal work, protect immigrants, fix our democracy, reauthorize the Violence Against Women's Act, advance LGBTQ rights, and more. The bottom line, Cleo, is I'm trying to get people to understand these folks are not playing. If people watching us right now plan to sit on their ass and get caught up in the same BS games in 2016, oh, I don't have the perfect candidate, I'm not going to vote. And let me be real clear before Cleo says this. All of y'all watching who say, Roland, you're trying to get folks to vote Democrat can kiss my ass. There are 2 parties running.
Right.
There's Trump and there's Democrats. I don't care how you feel. Y'all can run with that Jill Stein BS like in 2016. Y'all can wish there was a third party. Ain't one.
Nope.
Right.
You're going to have 2 choices, Cleo, and they are hell-bent. If that man gets reelected, by the end of 4 years, he likely will have appointed upwards of 50% of all appeals court federal judges.
And how many more on SCOTUS do you think?
That's policy.
He's going to get Ginsburg.
Cleo, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Of that, all you just said.
Whatever you want to talk about.
You address. But I think it's important to reiterate something and this just came out of what you just said. I have to say something else earlier. Is that
Hold on one second. We got an issue with your microphone. In fact, so come on, let's fix it. And again,
does it work?
Hold up. We're gonna,
Okay.
I think it was buried. So can you hear him now? Okay, we got you now. You got it buried. Go ahead.
Okay. I do a lot of conversating with black folks across the country. I'm sure we all do. So I'm not saying I'm the only one that does.
I got you.
And it's important, Roland, that the Democratic Party pull out at some point some substantial issues that people can grab to. It's not going to be powerful. It's going to be a very weak position to say vote against Trump, and that be the mantra. The Democratic Party has to have some specific legislation, a specific agenda for people to pay attention to it. Because one of the things that some of us don't realize, those of us who have these strong political perspectives, is that black people in particular have been dealing with discrimination, murder, police brutality, disenfranchisement, regardless of who the president is.
Right.
So there's a lot of black people who feel like, I'm not saying I agree.
I got it.
Who feel like it don't matter who the president is. Some brothers I've spoken to, some of them were out of college that you're going to talk about later, who felt like Trump, now this is crazy. So
I got it.
You're probably going to get real upset when I say this.
I already know it, but go ahead.
They feel like Obama didn't have no balls, and Trump got balls. Since being a black man is not working for me in this society, I'm going to vote for balls.
Even though what they don't realize is Trump is actually trying to cut your balls off.
Well, I agree with that.
But here's a piece. Here's a piece.
But see, we got to deal with what is going to be broad.
Right. No. But here's the point.
What's going to be broad from the federal?
But here's the point. Here's the point why I'm laying this stuff out on a daily basis in this way. Is that the federal judiciary?
Yes, sir.
Is an agenda.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Because if you are black,
come on, brother,
and you want to file a racial discrimination lawsuit,
that's right,
and a class action lawsuit, and it gets filed in federal court, and they kick it out as a federal judge.
And Roland, that kind of information would need to be broken down instead of telling people to kiss your ass.
No. Hold on. I'm doing both.
Because
hold on.
Don't do both.
No, Cleo.
Do that part.
No, I have to do both. Here's why I have to do both. Because what I'm trying to get people to understand is that people are sitting here going, you're saying vote Democrat. No. What I am saying is that you better look at this thing and realize that your so-called interests are not predicated solely on who is in the House or the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
This is a three-leg government. Judicial.
Come on, brother.
Federal bench, Supreme Court. Legislative, House, Senate. Executive, White House, President. Whoever's in the White House then determines the judiciary.
Yes, absolutely.
You can have 100 black members of Congress. You can have 100 Maxine Waters. You can have, matter of fact, there are 435 House members. You can have 435 Maxine Waters.
Right.
You can have as many as you want.
That's right.
But if they are in control of the federal courts,
come on.
Laws passed can be declared unconstitutional. Right now, federal judges, right as we speak, federal judges are determining whether the Affordable Care Act is unconstitutional.
That's right.
Federal judges are determining the laws that are unconstitutional. Everybody forget the Supreme Court invalidated the campaign finance law.
That's right.
McCain-Feingold.
That's right.
The Supreme Court said that giving was free speech and invalidated the law.
But Roland, what seems to be frustrating you is that people don't understand.
No. What's frustrating me? No. We're doing our job.
Right. You are.
No. What's frustrating me is that people are getting caught up on what's on MSNBC, CNN, Fox, all the rest of the networks, and not listening to places that are unpacking. And let me go ahead and say this. They are listening to certain black people who declare themselves new black media, who have a singular focus, who are not tying the dots and connecting these things. And I'm trying to get us not to be stuck in, well, oh yeah, he tough, he's strong, and so I know he's full of it, but I'm voting for strength. Yeah, you voting for a modern-day Bull Connor who wants to bash your head in, Greg.
Who's going to put a judge on the bench? Let's put it where, as your colleague Joe Madison would say, let's put it where the ghost can get it. Oh, I like this guy. He got some balls. Okay, do you like that judge that just gave you discretionary court supervised probation after you've done your sentence because that drug charge is a federal drug charge because you was smoking weed on federal property? Do you like that judge that got put on the bench that's going to run you from now on because he has or she has the discretion to extend your capture past the time you served your sentence? Our people have to understand that federal judiciary. Roland, you have to keep making that point over and over again. If nothing else.
But I'm still saying, and I agree with it. I know what you're saying. I know that what you're saying is correct. I'm clear about that.
No, but so how do we?
But what I'm saying is that there's people who are watching the hegemony, the macro.
Let me get that.
And who are influenced by the macro.
They're watching the soap opera. They ain't know nothing about no hegemony.
Well, I'm saying that to you. You know what I mean by that.
WWF, which is called CNN and MSNBC.
Right.
But so how do we move them to think?
Well, first of all, we move them to think by what you did, in my opinion, when you broke down the bare facts and all the elements of 2 = 4, and what has an outcome that we want to avoid is what people need to hear. People also need to hear what you said earlier about the fact that the mainstream press is not covering it.
No.
Even though the mainstream press, let me finish this, please.
I got it.
The mainstream press is being very seductive. They're acting like they care about what's the president's name?
Trump.
Trump.
They care about the entertainment.
They're acting like they care about the Trump is racist. And, oh my God! Now CNN is racist as hell, and you know that they're infrastructurally racist. But acting like now, oh my God, he's so racist, and they're playing us and getting our attention off of people like yourself in terms of comparison. And so I don't want us to get mad at black people for being. Wait, let me finish this one thought.
I'm not getting mad at black people. What I'm getting mad at are folks who are caught up in superficial, who are not paying attention, and the folks who are deliberately, let me be real clear, because see, we got to understand, there are black folks who are deliberately misleading black people.
That's true.
See, here's my deal. If you want to come at me on the facts. Come at me on what I say.
Who's deliberately misleading? I'm not disagreeing. I'm asking the question. Who is deliberately misleading black people? Black people need to know who that is.
Democrats and Republicans are the same. For example, there's a radical. I won't say radical. I hate to use that word, but there are black people who would say that. Now, in a minute, we're going to hear from Ms. Carr. We're going to hear from Eric Garner's mother.
Right.
The fact that the president appoints the attorney general, this toady William Barr. Remember that Eric Holder was like, we got to charge this guy, and there was a real fight going on in the Department of Justice. The Civil Rights Division's told Barr, man, you got to do this. The New Yorkers were like, nah, I don't know, we can get a conviction. Barr made the choice not to charge Pantaleo. That's where our people need to understand.
And let me be real clear. And the reason I say kiss my ass is because I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing. See, the problem.
Well, say that.
No. I'm going to say both. I'm not going. No, I'm going to say that because years ago on Nightline, I was watching Nightline, and I know Gwen Carr, I'm coming to you literally in 2 minutes. Years ago on Nightline, Ice-T and Dr. Alan Poussaint were on Nightline. And Dr. Ted Koppel was asking Ice-T about cussing in albums. And Ice-T said, Ted, you got to understand, black folks cuss for emphasis. He said, black people would say, Johnny, put down that knife. And somebody white would say, Johnny, put down that knife. And somebody black would say, Johnny, put down that goddamn knife. So then Ted Koppel said, wait. Ted Koppel said, well, Dr. Alan Poussaint, he said, what are your thoughts about what Ice-T just said? And Dr. Alan Poussaint, Harvard, all them degrees, he went, well, Ted, Ice-T got a point. My point is, sometimes you got to go ahead and just cut through the nonsense, because here's a piece. What I am not going to do, and anybody, you can try all you want to say, I haven't held Democrats accountable. We know you on crack. I'm talking about, we know you on crack.
Emphasis.
I'm emphasizing crack. And if you were white, you on meth.
Oh, yes, sir.
I'm saying that because I am not saying don't hold them accountable, don't demand the agenda. But what I am saying is that part of the agenda is the federal bench.
Yes, sir.
Part of the agenda is who are going to be the judges. You talking to the cat who was down in Harris County, who traveled with the 18 black women who are running for judicial positions in Harris County. I hit with them 15 different locations on the weekend before election because I understand the impact of judges. And so people are sitting here going, oh, like, for instance, if you support reparations.
Yes, sir.
Don't you know that if that law got passed, it's going to get challenged in court?
That's right.
Who you think gonna rule on a reparations bill?
That's right.
The federal bench.
That's right.
And so for the people who say that don't matter, I'm like, that's 1/3 of the federal government, the federal bench. There is no single branch of government, not the president, not the Congress, that has a greater impact on every single law that's been passed and who interprets the existing law. And why is this important? I need everybody listening. And Gwen Carr, I'm coming to you in 30 seconds. The reason why conservatives are so hell-bent on keeping the Senate and the White House is because they are still, to this day, angry about Brown versus Board of Education 1 and 2.
That's right.
They are angry about the fact that it was the federal bench that declared segregation to be unconstitutional.
That's right.
They are upset that it was the Fifth Court of Appeals.
Come on, brother.
Down south.
Yes, sir.
That created the injunction.
That's right.
That created law.
Come on, brother.
That implemented that.
Judge
they
Tuck.
are angry that those white conservative judges down south, the Fifth Circuit, actually interpreted Brown versus Board. They are angry that it was the federal courts. Every time they went in South Carolina and Virginia and Louisiana, y'all don't understand. They would vote in the legislature to deny black folks to go to school.
That's right.
The civil rights folks would go to court the same afternoon to get an injunction against the law they just passed in the morning, and the judge would grant it that afternoon.
That's right.
The next day, they would go back to the legislature, pass another law, and then the civil rights folks would go right back to the courts, get another injunction to stop that particular law.
That's right.
What I'm trying to unpack for you is that the Federalist Society, the Heritage Foundation, all of the conservative foundations were all born out of the 1964 decision by Barry Goldwater to oppose the Civil Rights Act.
That's right.
They opposed the Civil Rights Act. They opposed the Fair Housing Act. And they decided, you know what? It don't matter who the president is. But we understand if we control the courts, and the rich conservatives put into play a 40-year plan to take control of the federal bench. After Carter lost, Reagan came in. They said, we're going to just put them all on the bench. That was the focus for every single Republican president.
Well, can I ask you a quick question?
Real quick, because I'm going to Gwen.
Why do you think Trump won?
Trump won.
He stole the election.
No, beyond. I'm talking among the people. That's the mechanic answer.
Here's how Trump won. First and foremost,
from a populist perspective.
If I pull a map up of the United States and you see the sea of red in the southern part of the country, in the Midwest part of the country, you have those areas dominated by conservative talk radio. So for 8 years, this is all you heard from Fox News and conservative talk radio. Weak, 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 weak. Obama's weak. America's weak. Nobody respects America. Nobody. That every year it was beaten into their brains. They then said, shit, America's weak. So what happens? Who comes along? Tough. You're going to respect us. You're going to treat us right. I'm getting our money. And they're like, yeah, that's it. He the man. Okay, yeah, I know he sexually assaults women, but I don't care.
So
he the man. And so, just like in the Bible, when the people said we want a king,
that's
and God said, y'all don't need a king, you got me. The people said, no, God, we want a king. God said, okay, I'm going to give y'all Saul. And Saul was the most handsome and the tallest out of all of Jesse's children. But the people didn't realize his ass was evil. And then after they got Saul, they were like, no, God, can you save him? God like, no, y'all wanted a king.
Well, let me just
America
say this.
right now wanted a king.
Well, let me just say this.
And them white folks got a king.
Trump is not tall and handsome.
Well, I know that.
But one thing that I remember on your show when we was on TV One, and I kept saying Trump
got 30 seconds.
Trump gonna win
because Gwen is
what Trump did and what we need to do too. Trump affirmed and when they needed affirmation after Obama because they were scared by a black person looking more relevant and more powerful than what they were told he was supposed to be, and the white supremacy myth was being dismantled and they needed it replenished. He was affirming them.
Yes.
They needed to be affirmed.
Yes.
And they said, we affirm.
Yes.
Black people need to be affirmed too.
Okay, we got to be affirmed too, and that's what I'm trying to do. What I'm saying is this here.
We're going to have the conversation.
But we also, first of all, let me just here. We are far more smarter and far more clear than those Simple Simons. Because, Simple Simons, literally.
You are.
No, Cleo.
The Pew.
No, they are.
Look what Dr.
The Pew study we just did broke it down.
The more education white people got, the more they think like black people.
Is here.
That'll tell you right there.
When you got white farmers in Iowa and Wisconsin losing their farms because of his tariffs,
that's right,
and they still send them a vote for him,
yep,
they Simple Simon.
Simple Simon.
Hey, y'all, we told y'all about, of course, Eric Garner. Yesterday's 5th anniversary of his death. The Department of Justice chose not to file civil rights charges. There was a rally yesterday in New York. Of course, Gwen Carr, the mother of Eric Garner, she was attending. That's why she didn't join us yesterday. She joins us right now. Gwen, first of all, thank you for holding on. I know you were patient, but we had to unpack all of that stuff. This is the end of the road, if you will. We're just simply waiting for the administrative judge to decide whether or not this officer is going to lose his job. What's next for you and your family when it comes to seeking justice?
Well, we're going to still be out there. It doesn't matter because the Justice Department, they talk about a statute of limitations ran out in 5 years. But actually, there is no statute of limitations for death. That's what for murder. And it doesn't end with this administration. We won't have this administration forever, and we can always go to another administration and, ask for it to be looked at. It could be revisited.
Obviously, when that decision came down, first of all, were you expecting them to do nothing, or were you hopeful they were actually going to listen to the department, the Civil Rights Division?
Well, with this administration, I wasn't surprised. I was just disappointed. Because we still live in a country called America, and there should be justice where justice is due. And, we didn't get any accountability from the police officer. And not only Pantaleo, there was others who should have been fired also. But they did nothing but turn their heads. And the only ones that went to jail was Ramsey Otto, the one who took the video, the only person who's in jail.
Again, New York has dragged their feet. They have not moved on this officer. Finally, we're waiting to hear from this judge. And I think we got to call out the city leadership in New York. The fact that this guy has been on the job, getting raises, getting more than 6-figure salary for 5 years after he killed your son.
Yes, a raise every year, padding the payroll, padding the pension, because he wasn't even vested when he murdered my son. But now he's vested, he's making overtime. See, they're preparing him so if he does lose his job, he's still set for life.
Gwen Carr, it's always good to talk to you. We're going to keep standing with you and demanding justice.
Thank you.
Gwen, I appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I want to go back to, of course, we talked about the Pew story. We talked about, of course, what took place there. Erica, what I really want everybody watching to understand is that what we are dealing with right now, this is not about just 2020. This is literally about the next 2 generations. Because if you're born right now, You'll be 24 by 2043 when America becomes a nation majority of people of color. But if he's appointing federal judges who are 35, they're going to be on the federal bench for the second generation. That means that literally the decisions being made today will have an impact on the next two generations of Americans, the next two generations of black people.
Absolutely. And so the conversation has to really kind of evolve from this securing the bag to really something that Angela Rye and I've heard other people talking about, which is securing the legacy, which is why I'm glad that you've really taken the time to really lay out how just all of these actions do point back to federal structures that have been essential for not only black folks, but folks of color, and then people who have experienced civil rights abuses. So listen, to hear Gwen Carr's voice, a mother who not only had to bury her son, but her granddaughter as well, in this pursuit for justice should remind everyone that the Civil Rights Act, like all of these laws, do not continue to be effective with all of our participation. So it is that local, state, and federal combination that all of us have to be aware of when we're looking at participating in elections that may be happening in the summer months or not necessarily happening in a general election year. It's very important to understand who your DA is. It's very important to understand how something that we don't connect immediately as being an issue that we're having in our family does impact us overall broadly as black and brown folks, and then as Americans too. So I think that with folks like Bill de Blasio and Pete Buttigieg that are running in the race, this is another lens for us to look at leadership. If these people are supposed to be leading your communities, then the actions that they have been called on, that they have oversight on, which as the mayor we've discussed before, fire, transportation, housing, and education, to make sure that those things are right in the house of your city. But then if not, that leadership can't be carried forward to fight these real war battles that we're seeing today.
And Greg, this is something that really is so vital. It's amazing to me. I was dealing with somebody the other day who was trashing NAACP, saying, I don't see nothing, they ain't doing anything. And then I literally had a very prominent black media person who said publicly, up until this year, we had never seen a black agenda. And I had to hit this cat. I said, Doc, you can't go on TV saying nonsense.
No.
I said, I can take you back pre-Civil War and go after Civil War doing Reconstruction. I said, Robert Abbott printed.
Come on, brother.
In the Chicago Defender.
Come on.
Every week.
Yes, sir.
The black agenda.
Yes, sir.
I said, you can go modern day. I said, the NAACP has its report card, what its priorities are.
Yes.
I said, the National Urban League has it. I said, numerous civil rights organizations have them. I said, Deltas have Delta Days on Capitol Hill. I said, now.
Even Jack and Jill.
Right.
The teenagers.
I said, so.
Come on, brother.
I said,
come on.
Now, you might say it's not getting enough attention.
Right.
I said, but is it your job to put them on the air? I said, but it's wrong of us to say that, well, there is none. No one is doing it. And that to me is dangerous because there are black folks who are putting in the work.
That's right.
Every single day.
That's right.
Who get no credit.
That's right.
That's right.
And actually, there have been gains and successes. Do we want more? Yes. I said, but we can't act like it don't exist.
Brother, in almost 30 years of classroom teaching, I can say that is probably the single most frustrating part of my life, is when we have those of us who are in the public eye, have a platform, and open their mouths and speak with such ignorance that they should be quiet, because there is so much work that is done. I mean, we look at this Crown Act that just got passed. My good friend Audrey Batwe Osborne and the sisters who got the Crown Act passed. The Natural Hair Act in California, now in New York. This legislation, and you tweeted about
black
that.
people.
Black women.
Holly Mitchell in California.
Come on, brother.
Black woman who we had on this show.
Exactly.
I know how.
So I mean, to your point, this is work that is going on every day. Derek Johnston just released another critique, another analysis, another report. So if somebody puts a microphone in your face and you're on a platform and you haven't come to the black media, please do the race a favor. Be quiet.
I just want, and again, Cleo, again, I'm a firm believer that part of the issue here is when you don't know, you don't know.
Yes.
Part of the problem is that when you have we have 8 black networks, and out of 1,300 plus hours every single week, there's not a single hour of an actual news show. That to me is a problem. But I'll give you an example. We were going to do this story. I'm trying to go to. So today, Congress passed the minimum wage law, $15 an hour.
That's right.
Just so y'all know, in case nobody tell y'all, because everybody else going to do the story. A black man,
right?
Congressman Bobby Scott.
Yes, sir.
That was his bill.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
So when somebody say black caucus don't do nothing, that bill,
right,
which directly impacts us.
That's right.
If it goes to the Senate, bottom line is it got passed.
Right.
Cleo, was needed, and this to me is what's important. Was needed or not a bunch of us saying ain't nothing happened, was needed are soldiers in the battle. We got generals and colonels and sergeants. Problem is, we ain't got enough soldiers.
Roland, I'm not saying this to BS you or blow smoke or whatever the cliche is, but your show, and I mean this as profoundly as I could, I'm almost choking up saying it. This platform is one of the most important platforms in the black landscape.
That's right.
And you've said it before, the other media is not covering what you cover. They're not going to put together the mosaic of facts that is contrary to what people think is true because white folks said it or light folks said it.
Right.
And what you're doing here is unique in the universe. We're going to fuss later. I told him I have a meeting with you about some stuff. But what you broke down in terms of the federal infrastructure and the relevance of it, a lot of people don't know.
Right.
I mean, I'm talking to these people. They don't have a clue.
No.
And it's not because they're not dumb. Excuse me. It's not because they're dumb.
No, of course not.
The brilliance is off the chain.
Don't know.
But you can be a PhD in English, but if somebody try to make you speak Japanese, you're going to lose.
Right.
You don't know the language.
Right.
So we got to start talking about the language of affirmation and critical analysis. So black people, and not kiss my assless. That's not helpful because you got people who already feel dissed by the society and dismissed by the society and made into irrelevant by the society, who are blinded and distracted by the myth of their irrelevance. That gets in the way of them getting the clarity they need, even when somebody's right in their face, giving it to them.
But when you
so simultaneously, the message has to be the affirmation.
But remember, but here's the other piece, and this is where the kiss my ass come in. When you no, I'm trying to tell you. Because look, this ain't my first black media experience.
I know it's not.
When you have other black people who purposely want to silence black voices.
Absolutely.
Because of the game.
My goodness.
That's the real deal.
My goodness.
What black people have better understand, and all you got to do, remember, Skip Gates just broke it down in that Reconstruction documentary, and we talked about it on the show. It was a black man, a single black man who was a delegate at their conference in Mississippi in the late 1800s, where they voted to deny voting rights to black folks. He had financial interest. They saw him as the solo Negro, and he said, I agree with y'all, black folks shouldn't have the right to vote. What I'm saying to y'all is, if you a hater who thinks you're going to stop me from talking, you done lost your mind. Y'all can kiss my ass. And I'm going to say that over and over and over again because...
Not over and over.
No, I'm going to fine. Don't kiss my ass, go to hell. How's that? And I'm going to say that because...
Who are you telling to go to hell?
No. The haters who listen. See, when you hit dog will holler. You're going to see them holler in about 2 hours.
Hit dog will holler.
The point is this here. They don't truly want unapologetic blackness. They want to play games with black people. And then they want to present black people with this narrow space of where we are and what we should be doing. And what I'm arguing is that you better look at this thing like a chessboard. You better understand exactly what's going on. And so I'm going to go ahead and play this because I know somebody out there is really trying to understand, Roland, I don't really what you're trying to get us to understand. Y'all, I watch movies, I read books, and there's always a lesson you can learn from something. And I believe that, because remember I played the other day, did you see the clip we played the other day from the movie The Good Shepherd?
Oh, yeah. Matthew Damon is.
Right, the Matt Damon clip, and when he was asked the question about whose country is this?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a great clip because it fully explains America. Okay, guys, I got you guys. I got to pull it up first. So they tell me my iPad's frozen. Don't worry about it. I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to try to find it. But it's important because it was a great scene because it was like, no, who do we got? It's like white people, we got America. It was a 29-second clip. It was a brilliant clip.
And there's something.
But when people say, I'm not really understanding what you're trying to describe, this whole piece here, let me pull it up. This is the scene, y'all. It's going to come up. Turn the audio down. It's not up yet. Turn the audio down. Kill the audio. Okay, so I'm going to pull it in a second. Because how we got to see this thing. We have to study the board.
Mm-hmm.
We can't look at one piece. We got to study the board. We got to see that when these Republicans are doing something in North Carolina, Republicans in Florida are watching.
That's right.
And the Republicans of Texas are watching.
That's right. Well, they met at ALEC. They don't even know what ALEC is.
The power of ALEC.
That's right.
Was about get it over here. That's
you
law.
should tell them because maybe somebody watching who doesn't know what ALEC is.
ALEC, of course, was supposed to be a business or a business group.
Come on, brother.
Major corporations were funding ALEC, Legislative Exchange Council.
Yes.
Then they said, well, hold on, we can use these corporate dollars to pass our race-based policies. Stand Your Ground came out of ALEC.
Yes, sir.
Voter suppression came out of ALEC. Well, it was so bad, y'all, where literally there was a Florida legislature. He actually copy and pasted the email from the ALEC person, put it right in the bill, hit print, and they went, dog, you left the top of the email in. We know who sent you the bill. It was the actual language. And so what they're doing is, and see, I told y'all a decade ago, see, the other people who were talking on CNN weren't seeing it. I told y'all after Obama law in 2010, when Republicans took over legislatures, what was going to happen. The shift about abortion was going to shift from the Capitol to the states.
Yep. Yes.
The shift over the Civil Rights Act and voting rights was going to shift from the Capitol to the states. They understand gerrymandering case is all about state control. The Constitution enumerates two rights. If it ain't in the Constitution, then it's a state law.
10th Amendment.
Y'all, that's basic ass civics.
Come on, brother.
So what you don't understand is we keep clamoring for people to have something happen in Congress. No. States' rights.
Yes, sir.
The most fundamental thing about the U.S. Constitution was states' rights. Slavery was about states' rights. Civil War, states' rights in slavery. Whatever the federal government does not stipulate in the Constitution, the states completely control it. You can holler all you want to about voting. Those are states' rights, which is why if you're in Ohio, you got to get off your ass and support Alicia Reese, who is trying to get a ballot initiative in Ohio to make the right to vote the law in Ohio. Yes. Every 2 to 4 years, we got to go to court. We suing people. We talking about closing of hours of voting locations. But if you make the right to vote a state law, they can't mess with it because it's the law.
That's right.
That's the chessboard.
That's right.
So here's the scene right here that I'm trying to explain to y'all. Press play.
Mate his 4 moves from the position in front of you. Don't move until you figure it out in your head. Don't look to me for a hint.
I can't do it without moving the pieces.
Yes, you can. Clear the lines of men in your head, one at a time, and the king will be left standing alone, like a guy on a street corner. Here, I'll make it easier for you.
Knight to C8.
Yes.
Kill the audio. He had to see the moves without the pieces. Too many of us are focused on the pieces.
What's ironic about this, Roland, you know, Dr. Welsing used to talk about the chessboard as a metaphor all the time.
Yes, she did.
And there's a 14-year-old kid out of Baltimore who just became a national champ.
Talk about it on the show.
But I bet you, but I shouldn't say I bet you, because I don't know the young man. But it's highly likely he might not even know who he is, though he can play the hell out of some chess. But he might not even have any political literacy or self-conceptual literacy as a person of African descent, historically and contemporarily in the society, but he can play the hell out of some chess. We got to be able to synthesize it all to the extent that we can, so people can actually have the capacity to take the information in, because the presentation has been appealing enough for them to say, I get it.
Well, and to your point, Cleo, we have to positively reinforce our people.
Yes.
But and as you're saying, Roland, you know, a lot of this is because our people don't have the information, or they haven't been guided to the platforms like this. I mean, the news just came between yesterday and today that Rich Paul and his Clutch group is joining up with one of the major talent agencies, but he's retaining control, because these young brothers understand they are playing chess. I mean, they're basically turning the NBA into a pickup game between millionaires, when you can force trades, this kind of thing. But we don't become aware of the fact that they're thinking that way. I think about all the brothers and sisters who have been through Roland Martin Unfiltered just since the show has been on. I mean, we start talking about they're thinking that way, but what this platform does is expose to our people that we are thinking that way, so we can begin to connect those dots.
Absolutely.
There's nothing more important. I mean, if we are not careful, as you said, if Trump wins re-election, and he has now thrown, his political strategy is, I'm going to use my clan base and try to steal this election. That's why Republicans, but if he wins re-election, John Paul Stevens just died day before yesterday, 99 years old. He was appointed by Republican Ford on the Supreme Court, but he was appointed at a time when the Republicans weren't yet the full party of white supremacy. He lived to see the most important presidential election decision be made by the Supreme Court. He wrote the dissent in Bush versus Gore. He said, you know, this is where this thing is going. He went from a conservative to a liberal on a bench because the Republicans have said, we are going to be the home of white supremacy. But if he wins re-election, this country is not guaranteed to continue as a country, because they are going to make some decisions. They're making them now that might lead to the fracturing of this state beyond repair.
Absolutely.
You're basically calling for a hit on Ilhan Omar. That's basically what they're doing at this point.
Absolutely.
I mean, so this, and he said, I'm going to call Ocasio-Cortez Cortez. This is patriarchy. This is white supremacy. But anyway, I mean, the point is, this platform will help us.
Erica, I need us to see the board without the pieces. Okay, she's not there? Okay, I thought Erica was there. We got to see the board without the pieces. And we have to understand, folks, what is going on here. I am not talking about the next 2 years.
No.
I'm telling you, I called this in 2009. We are living in the age of white minority resistance.
That's right.
They believe, based upon the future, that they are the minority. Everything that they're doing is based upon we're the minority.
That's right.
Every single thing is about we're the minority. I said the other day, and this is, again, chess. Why do they hate Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez?
Break this down, brother.
And Rashida Tlaib.
Yes, sir.
And Ayanna Pressley and Ilhan Omar. Why do they hate a Latina?
Come on.
A Muslim woman.
That's right.
A black woman. And a Muslim immigrant. Because that is the future of America.
That's right, brother.
And what they don't like is the view. See, I need y'all to go deeper.
Come on, brother.
When Trump talks about their view, how they see America, it's because we are not white. We don't see America the way they do.
That's right.
They see America as apple pie and love and the flag and the national anthem, and we're the greatest, the baddest. God loves us more than anybody else. That's how they see us. But we have experienced the real America. They celebrate the America that's on paper, not the America in reality. You should leave. I'm going to find the clip. We're going to play it tomorrow. Harry Belafonte answered the question, and I asked him, you love the French Riviera. Why do you stay here? Y'all, to the people in the control room, go to my Harry Belafonte interview, the second one we did when I talked to him about Colin Kaepernick, have it for tomorrow's show. I'm going to break down for y'all why we don't leave. It is because black people have actually said, we're going to make America be the nation it is on paper. MLK said it. Other folks have said it. But what they are fearful of, y'all, is that we view the America differently than they do, which means the norms and the values and the customs and all these things are now going to change. Don't take down Confederate statues.
Come on.
Why? Those are a celebration of white symbols, people who lost.
Traitors.
Because they don't, and so what's the concern? Because they don't want us actually having power to actually take the symbols down.
That's right.
Because if we gain power and take the symbols down, then we are now redefining what America is. Why is that important? Us redefining what America is? Because if we redefine what America is, then we are now defining America through our eyes, as opposed to how America has been defined and through their eyes since 1776. See, that's what's really going on here. And so why did they oppose diversity in corporate America? Because they needed it to be defined a certain way. Yesterday, we talked about this corporate standard of how your hair should look and how you should dress. Now, I called it a white standard. I got pushback from some black folks on my panel, but that's a white standard.
It's a white standard.
Okay, it was a white standard at IBM. You must have a blue a blue suit, a red tie, a white or light blue shirt, and a certain pair of pants. Can't have flashy shoes. White standard. Why do you think all of a sudden, y'all, they got problems that we have now redefined corporate culture? Remember when they now instituted Dress Down Friday? Now all of a sudden, our fashion, our looks, our flair has now infiltrated their world.
That's right.
Roland.
I'm not done yet.
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to walk through this because I need y'all to understand what this is seeing the board without the pieces. All you got to do is go back and read the writings of Patrick Buchanan for the last 25 years. Everything that I am saying is exactly what Patrick Buchanan wrote. Patrick Buchanan was speaking for those white folks. He was like, Lord, they gonna change our nation. Listen, change our nation. Trump, if you object, you can leave. What he is saying is, this is our nation.
Our country.
Not yours,
That's right.
but our nation. Everything they are breaking down is, this is ours. Not Native American, not the people of color who are immigrant, but this is ours. But see, a lot of us are getting caught up on, and I see y'all posting on YouTube, my bank account is much better under Trump than it was under Obama. Ridiculous. Thank Obama, because frankly, they fixed the economy. He handed him a great economy. What I'm trying to get y'all to see is a much deeper understanding. And again, maybe sometimes, movies can get to y'all and you can explain it a lot different. To understand Trump's tweets and the rally last night and the Republican Party proposals and everything, this 29-second clip from the movie The Good Shepherd, the basis of the movie was white men from Yale and Harvard who created the CIA, and the whole point was to control the world. If you go watch the movie directed by Robert De Niro, you will see that in the movie they also talked about how to control nations where people of color were becoming in power. To understand this, y'all, this 29-second clip will completely explain today's Republican Party and why I need you to understand where we are and where we are going.
We Italians, we got our families and we got the church. The Irish, they have the homeland. The Jews, their tradition. Even the niggers, they got their music. What about you people, Mr. Carlson? What do you have?
The United States of America. The rest of you are just visiting.
The rest of you are just visiting. Cleo, that's what they mean when they say you can leave.
Yeah, and even though Trump has raised that perspective to the heights, I've heard it before, a long time ago.
Your ancestors have heard it.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So it's not a new perspective. I've heard it before.
But
Greg, final comment.
It was interesting looking at Ilhan Omar today, who tried to introduce some legislation on boycott, divestment, and sanctions, looking at the fact that those four and Barbara Lee and some others voted against the military expansion bill, or said you can't just give a blank check to these to the federal government and to go down here on the border. You need to put some sanctions on them. It's very interesting at this moment, Roland. I think what we see with the squad, so to speak, is a line has finally been crossed. We too can count. We know the demographics are coming, and they're not going to wait and be polite anymore.
Of course.
The question is now going to become whether we're going to have the courage to act on that. Matt Damon's world of the 1950s and 60s, that world is never coming back.
But it's not just
they want. They desperately want.
But it's not just courage; it's clarity.
Right.
We need the clarity, because I watched the show yesterday, and it was interesting when you were arguing with the sister attorney and
Monique and Scott
and the other attorney, and they were like, it ain't really white.
But guess what? The world that they want to live in ain't coming back either, brother.
Right, but the point I'm trying to make is that these people have intellectual capacity.
Yeah.
And they can break down some black things. They have their black moments.
Good people.
But when Roland said, wait a minute, the foundation of your value system in this regard is white.
No, I think they just bet. No, I think
no, it's not.
You gotta,
and it was, and it is.
You can't look backward. You got to look forward. And I guess what I'm saying is that's a smart play. That was a smart play for our immediate ancestors, Cleo. But looking forward, we are now, like when you talk about Casual Friday, it's very interesting. LeBron James said this about Rich Paul. He said, you know why they don't like him? Because he doesn't wear a suit every day and he's black. And there's nothing you can do about him now.
And I'm going to end the show this way. I am on the Twitter feed of Tom Hauser. And folks, I'm going to end the show this way. I think it's perfect. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, this was the reception she got when she got off of the plane today in Minnesota. And also, according to Tom Hauser, he posted this. This was her actually speaking to the folks there.
We are going to continue to be a nightmare to this president. Because his policies are a nightmare to us. And we are not deterred. We are not frightened. We are ready.
Have your back.
That is it. We have some other stuff we want to get to, but look, we allowed that to go on. I'm not went way over time, but I certainly appreciate everybody for staying. Erica, thank you very much for joining us. She had to go, but thank you so very much. I want to thank all of you. So I got to say this, and again, y'all hear me talk about this on the show. And I had somebody who came to me. He said, "Man, I'm surprised people have not responded the way I thought." Had a friend of mine. He asked me how many folks we have donated to the show, and he said, "Oh, I would have thought you would have had 50,000 by now." I said, "No, we've had about 3,000." And I said our goal was to have 20,000 in our first year to join our Bring the Funk fan club, donating about $50 each to join our fan club. And I said, we appreciate everybody who's given. The only way this can continue to be independent is if it is self-funded. And self-funded doesn't just mean coming out of my pocket. I mean, that's been self-funded to the tune of about $250,000. But it also means that in order for us to continue, it has to happen. I told you last week the Chicago Defender printed their last issue. The reason the Chicago Defender was powerful was because black folks bought the paper. Let me repeat that. Black folks in 1905, when Robert Abbott founded the paper, at the kitchen table of his landlady. He did not publish it for free. Black folks bought it. When it connected with Pullman car porters and then had distributed all across the South, it was sold all across. Why does that matter? Because that's what funded Ethel Payne. That's what funded Chuck Stone. That's what funded Louis Martin. The funding of the Chicago Defender is what allowed John Senstack to send Louis Martin to Detroit to open and launch the Michigan Chronicle. The first black newspaper, Freedom's Journal, March of 1827, said in its lead editorial, you've heard me say it, we wish to plead our own cause, to long have others spoken for us. I'll add an addendum, and we got to pay for it. We need you to support this show. Right now, I've got 400. Here's the deal. I got 429 people right now who are watching us on Facebook. Right now on YouTube, there are 1,670 folks who are watching us on YouTube. If I pull up Periscope right now, and I'll pull up, I just want to give a sense of what I'm talking about. We probably have more than 100 folks who are watching us on Periscope, right now. And so what that means is that literally in excess of 2,000 people are watching. If half of those people actually join our Bring the Funk fan club, then we would actually increase our number twofold. We have to have your support. Look, we want to be able to broadcast and understand what I'm talking about, y'all. Sunday, the NAACP convention begins in Detroit. We'll be there, live streaming the events. When they have a presidential forum there, I don't know what CNN is going to be doing. I don't know what MSNBC is going to be doing or Fox News is going to be doing. Roland Martin Unfiltered will be there streaming the entire forum. Not cutting in with opinion and all. No, you're going to hear from every single candidate. April Ryan's going to be moderating. We're going to be there. We're going to be at the National Urban League Convention. This matters, having our platforms to speak to our issues and having black people who can actually speak to our issues as well. And I'll go ahead and ask it, and I know she's not expecting me to, but here's the deal. This is real. We started the show off talking about the Pew study. How many of y'all saw that at the beginning of the show? You heard us talking about it. Dr. Kiana Cox. How many networks have called you? Yes. You led the study, right?
No, I wasn't the lead.
You weren't on the leader, but the three of us were on the lead. How many other networks have you been on?
None.
She said none.
Wow.
How many African Americans were leading this study?
I was the only one on this study.
Okay.
Wow.
Dr. Kiana Cox.
Wow.
I'm going to repeat this, y'all. Dr. Kiana Cox, the only African American in the leadership on the study on the issue of Trump and race. There were three people who were leading it. This is the only platform you've been on? Radio as well? This is the only platform you heard this smart sister breaking down the Pew study. You tell me why this doesn't matter. Go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com to join our Bring the Funk fan club. We certainly support love for any of you to join us. Look forward to having our conversation tomorrow. Cleo, Greg, thanks a bunch. Doc, thanks a bunch. Erica, thanks a bunch as well. Folks, I got to go. Holla! You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it.
Hey everybody, this is your man Fred Hammond, and you're watching Roland Martin, my man, Unfiltered.
Hi, this is Essence Atkins, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Hey, yo, Peace World, what's going on? It's the Love King of R&B, Raheem Devon, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Hi, my name is Brescia Webb, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Ow. Well, I like a nice filter usually, but we can be unfiltered.
What's going on? This is Tobias Trevelyan. And if you're ready, you are listening to and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
What's up? I'm Lance Gross, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Hi, this is Cheryl Lee Ralph, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, could it be any other way? Really? It's Roland Martin.
You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Hey fam, want to check out Unfiltered, the blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered.